All right, what's going on, guys? Rich Schnyderite here, publisher of Nittany Nation. We're back again with another podcast. I'm joined by Eric Lammers, our recruiting analyst. Eric, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. What's going on, Richie? How you doing?
I can't complain. It's been a little quiet in terms of since this Neo Avery commitment. No, nothing's really been happening around Penn State recruiting. But there was a junior day last weekend. There's a junior day this weekend. So let's just get right into it and start talking about this upcoming visitor list.
No doubt, no doubt. Coach Franklin's got the itch, man. He wants a commitment, I'm sure. So I'm sure he's got some bugs in the ears for this weekend trying to get one, no doubt.
Yeah. So before we jump into this list, I want to talk a little bit more about what a junior day is and like what it kind of consists of. I know obviously you guys have had him back at Vanderbilt under Franklin. So kind of break down how he likes to handle it.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously it's a really good opportunity, especially, as you're turning the calendar to this next class, right? So the 23 class takes focus. It's really a good opportunity to get them on campus for that first time and have some real good personal time with them. Mm-hmm. Obviously you've had them on campus a handful of times, maybe before this, for camps, for game days, but for those, when they're on campus for those days, obviously at the camp, you're looking at them working out. And then on game days, the environment is the entire, it's what it's all about. And the coaches are really tied up with that. So this is the first real opportunity to get these kids on campus where you can sit down with them 5-6 hours. They can get to know you about the program. They can get to know the culture. You can get to know them. And so it's a real big deal. Really what you're talking about doing during these times is you're going to sit down, they're going to break out into position groups. You're going to talk ball. The big thing with these kids is trying on the jerseys, doing a photo shoot. So you're going to make sure you carve out probably at least an hour for that during the day. You're going to take them on facility tours. A big thing with Penn State, obviously right now, we heard about it last weekend, was the expansion going on with the weight room, right? And so that's a big selling point for the staff right now. So they're marketing that to these kids when they get them on there. Another big thing though that you like to do when you have the guys on campus for this weekend is get them around your players. One thing that we really did at Vanderbilt a lot that worked out well was a player panel. And essentially what you do is you take 4 or 5 guys from your current roster, put them in a room with all the guests, close the doors, take all the staff out, take everybody out of the room, and just let it be real with the players and the families and the prospects, and just let them ask them any questions, shoot, anything's on the table, be honest. That way they can find, what's really everything going on, what's it all about there at Penn State or what, at Vanderbilt or wherever it may be. Because, one thing we always tell the prospects, or would always tell the prospects, is players can't BS other players, right? Like, it's one thing for coaches to get up and feed you, because obviously the coaches and the staff members, it's our whole job is to get up there and sell you on the university, right? But like players, most times, they're going to keep it real all the time. So that was a great opportunity for us to always sit down, or have the players and the families sit down with current players and figure out what's going on. So that's really what it's all about. The weekend, when you have these junior day visits, is really it's an opportunity for these kids to get on campus, really, see behind the curtains, I guess, if you will, see what the culture is all about, and really start building those relationships, because you're really trying to get, you're targeting these kids. You want them on campus for a reason. You're trying to get them, you learn about them and then hopefully get a commitment from them. So, I mean, that's what it's really all about.
Yeah, and on top of that, they're also going to be meeting some new coaches. Obviously, Manny Diaz is the new DC/linebackers coach, and then Stacy Collins is the new special teams coordinator. How big is a first impression for recruiting, for coaching?
Yeah, I think it's big, and I think it's big all the way around, right? I think it's big not only from how does the first interaction from the coach to the prospect and the family go, but how does that first interaction from the prospect go to the coach? Because, it goes both ways in my opinion, but it's big, I would say, because, relationships are the name of the game in this business, and how you vibe with somebody, how you click with somebody right out the gate can take that whole thing, the whole mile. So, obviously Coach Franklin and the other staff members that are there, they have relationships built. But if you walk in the building and you all of a sudden you sit down with Manny Diaz for the first time and you don't click, or you're not feeling it, and vice versa, if he's not feeling you, I mean, that can derail the whole recruitment there for the rest of the, you might never hear that name pop up again after this weekend if they didn't click. But obviously that's not the hope.
Yeah, of course. So now let's talk about some of the names coming to campus. Just some of the big ones I'm going to name off: Ronan Hannifin, 4-star to Massachusetts; Kenny Johnson, high 3-star to Pennsylvania; Neo Avery committed; Joshua Miller committed. I think there's another commit coming, isn't there?
Mega Barnwell. Yep.
Mega Barnwell is coming. There's a 4-star coming up from Georgia in D Creighton.
Yep.
And then there's also an intriguing one. There's a 4-star out of Ohio in Anthony Brown. He's a wide receiver, currently committed to Minnesota, but he's obviously shopping around a little bit because he has Penn State this weekend, and he told me he's going to Michigan next weekend. What can you kind of tell me about him? I know obviously you dabble in Ohio State recruiting as well. why haven't the Buckeyes offered, and what's there to know about this kid?
That's a good question. I really don't know the answer to why Ohio State has not made a move on him to this point. They're in the market for additional wide receivers on their board. I know that. I think he's a pretty good player. I like the film. He's definitely been committed to Minnesota, but he's definitely not been quiet about shopping himself around and taking visits. He went to Ohio State's campus this fall for a game, so he's been around. He has some juice on film. I like the way he plays. He's getting coached up pretty well there at Springfield. So I don't know why Ohio State hasn't made the move, but it's good for Penn State to get him on campus. You see what, you see his frame in person, you get to know him, see what he's like, and then see how hard you want to press from there. But it's obviously not something Minnesota, I would not say, is solid for him. And so Penn State can it's nice. I mean, quite frankly, if you're Penn State in this situation, it's really actually beneficial to have this kid come on campus because he is committed somewhere else already, right? So you're not really worried about the ball's really in your court, really, right? Like you can play it however you want to play it based on how you're clicking with him, what you think of his film. If you really love him, you want to flip him, boom, go all in on him. He gets there, you're not gelling with him, okay, stick with your Minnesota commitment, keep looking around, do whatever you got to do, but like no harm, no foul on our end, right? So like it's really a pretty good spot for the Penn State staff.
So that's something I want to kind of touch on. He's committed to Minnesota. I know fans are always concerned about this sometimes when a committed kid comes and visits a different campus. Is there any concern that he would come here and like recruit against Penn State and kind of be like, yo, come to Minnesota with me?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily. I mean, I think that could probably happen in certain situations with certain kids and depending on where they're committed to and things like that. I wouldn't necessarily be worried about that in this situation. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put that against anybody, and if the right school is involved and things like that. So, but I wouldn't be worried about that with Anthony right now.
Gotcha. I know I have an article coming out with him later. He talks Penn State, talks Michigan. He's actually talked a little bit to me about how Drew Allar and Keaton Saunders are in his ear nonstop. So that's going to be a pretty cool connection and see if they can land another top Ohio kid.
No doubt.
But the one kid I really want to talk about on this visitor list is Kenny Johnson. He's told us in the past that Penn State is his favorite. We submitted future cast for him to go to Penn State. Is it just a matter of time? Is it going to happen this weekend?
I mean, he's certainly the one I got my eye on this weekend, right? Because like, first off, you go back to the original list you were talking about. Like you got 3 commits on campus. You got Neo, you got Mega, and you got Joshua Miller. Those guys are they're very vocal on Twitter. They're very, they take it on upon themselves to really be the recruiters of this class, a couple of the recruiters of this class. So they're going to be working this weekend. You know that, right? I mean, so they're going to be in these guys' ears that are on campus. Kenny Johnson just seems like an easy target for them and for the staff. And I don't mean easy just because, like, obviously, for whatever reason, but like he's obviously been to Penn State a few times. He's named them their leader. He's from Pennsylvania. He has some good offers like Boston College, West Virginia, Rutgers, things like that. But I think this is the prototypical guy that Coach Franklin will say going into the weekend, look, let's close this one down. We got 3 of our commits in town. Put them on him. I want this kid committed before the end of the weekend because we need a little recruiting buzz. Let's go do this.
Now, do kids like see that? They see like a kid commit on campus, like for like a junior day, for example, when there's 20 plus kids there, they see him commit and it's kind of like, oh shit, I should probably do it too.
I mean, it's just buzz, man. It's just positive momentum. That's all recruiting is, right? Recruiting is just taking positive momentum and pushing it forward, right? So if you can get this kid on campus surrounded by, like you said, 20 plus kids, you got your commits in town, you get the commitment. It's in-state commitment. It's just positive momentum. It's buzz, and that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. So now I want to talk about another kid on campus this weekend, Hunter Norzard, transfer out of Cornell, offensive lineman. He obviously has a ton of offers. I think he broke it down to a top 5 recently. Michigan State, Penn State, Iowa. There's one more I'm missing. I can't think of, but he's been one of the most highly. I don't even know what the word is. Highly sought after offensive lineman in the portal so far. What can you tell me about him?
Yeah, I mean, I think, he's obviously he fits the bill in terms of what you want to do in terms of an older offensive lineman that can come in and plug a hole in the interior for you. I think that he's going to be smart. He's going to be a hard worker. He's got tape. I know there's some this and that about, he's from the Ivy League. How can he stack up to the competition when he makes that transition to Penn State? What I would say to that is a couple of things, right? Personally at Vanderbilt, we had great success with Ivy League kids for various reasons. But I just think they come in with a whole different mentality. They're ready to work. Nothing, they're not about the glitz and the glamour. I mean, Ivy League's a whole different, brand of ball, obviously, but it's hard. I mean, it's still hard to balance the school and that football, right? So I think that you get that kid. I know I think they didn't have some success the last time they went into the portal and got an Ivy League kid, and that'll happen, obviously. But the one thing about this kid at Cornell is his offensive line coach there is a former Penn State GA. So I would think that Penn State has all the information that they need on this kid in terms of what kind of worker he is, what he can, what he can't do. So I think they're all in on him. They got the other offer that they offered to Tyler Steen as the offensive lineman out of Vanderbilt. So I think they obviously would like to add somebody to that room if they can find the right body. I think Hunter has kept things really close to his vest. I've reached out, to a handful of people to try and talk about him. He's supposed to recap the weekend visit when he gets done with me when he gets done with this weekend. But he's kept it pretty close to the vest. He doesn't really want to do a whole lot of interviews. He doesn't want to talk to a whole lot of people. He's got some good options. He's from Atlanta originally, or down in Georgia originally. So some people have believed that he may be targeting Auburn just to get back south and get back to home. But, when Penn State and Iowa come in calling, you gotta listen. You gotta, take that into consideration. So I think anything's possible with him. He's obviously going to be, he's not going to be involved really with the junior day visit. Obviously you're going to separate an official visitor, especially an older official visitor, from all that, those festivities. But I mean, I'm sure they're going to roll out the red carpet for him and do everything they can to land him.
Yeah, I know you just mentioned it before, Tyler Steen. Obviously, he's a kid you're very familiar with during your Vanderbilt days. Yeah. What can you tell me about him? I know Penn State kind of went and visited him. What was it, Monday this week?
Yeah, Monday. Yep, they used Monday to go visit both Hunter and Tyler. Obviously, Martin Luther King Day and no schools and things like that. So they went and visited a couple transfers, but they sent the whole offensive staff plus Coach Franklin down to see Tyler in Nashville, and then they bounced over to Atlanta to see Hunter. Mm-hmm. Tyler. I mean, in my opinion, Tyler is he's a darn good player. He's been starting for us, or not for us, but he started at Vanderbilt when I was there as a true freshman. Started on the right side, ended up transitioning over to the left side. In my opinion, he's probably an NFL level guard. We played him at tackle because he has the size, he's athletic, and those type of guys don't just show up at Vanderbilt all the time. And he got the job done. He's nasty, he's a worker, and he, like I said, he's athletic. But I think at the next level, he probably would be an NFL level guard. He wants to play tackle though, so we'll see what happens there at Penn State if he goes tackle guard. He's going to have everybody in the country. He doesn't do the social media, he doesn't do interviews and things like that. But I know I have it on good authority that he's got multiple offers from about darn near everybody in the country. So I don't know which way that's going to shake, but he can play at Penn State. I told Andy Frank as much. There's no problem. Don't question whether or not he can play for y'all. He can play for Penn State.
Hey, sounds like he's a pretty confident kid, but I mean, you're pretty confident in him too.
Yeah, he was the one. We talked about it. Every day we saw him, and like I said, we didn't have the best offensive line in the SEC, obviously. But when you looked at him compared to the other SEC offensive linemen, you just knew that he could do it. He was, like I said, he was out of position probably for us a little bit. He probably, like I said, NFL level guard. But he got the job done against some of the best pass rushers in the SEC on a weekly basis too. So you can't fault him.
Yeah, I mean, if Vanderbilt has 4 other offensive linemen, Penn State might look pretty solid next year.
Right.
But I want to move on a little bit. We talked junior day, 2023s, 2024s. We talked transfer portal, but we haven't talked 2022. Signing day is still technically in February. And it's right around the corner. And there is a kid coming to campus next weekend in Big Ione out of Washington, which, again, this is the 3rd Washington prospect that we're talking about that's coming across the country to come visit Penn State. What are you hearing about him so far?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you go, he's a one-time Washington commit. They have a staff changeover. So I don't know what the communication between him and that new staff has been like, right? But obviously Penn State felt good enough to go all the way out to the West Coast to Washington and offer this kid, right? And so they're going to go see him early next week. I know Trout is going to go see him early next week. And then he's obviously going to come on campus for the official visit. And anytime you're talking about a timeline like that close to signing day, I mean, you have to feel good about your chances, right? I mean, it's a cross country. It's something completely new. I'm sure, he's never been to Happy Valley, so he's probably not too familiar with what it is all about. But at the same time, he's obviously looking for a home. And if he's clicking, he's clicking with, Trout and things like that. So, the one thing is obviously Stacey Collins, the new hire, he's from the Pacific Northwest. So he's probably pretty familiar, I would assume, with everything that's going on there in his film and who he is and what he's all about. So, I mean, I think Penn State probably feels pretty good about where they're at with him. I don't know. I don't know, like I said, what's Washington's deal with him. But yeah, you getting that last visit. Anytime you get that last visit before signing day, you like where you're sitting and you like your chances. So they could be, and he's a good, solid, thick interior guard. And I think they would like to add that to this class, whether it's through the portal or through the high school ranks, right? They're obviously looking for something there. And so I would say they're probably ready to see if they can land him next weekend for sure.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that they need offensive linemen and that they want offensive linemen on top of that. 3 already committed, signed. They're pursuing 2 other transfers, and now they're pursuing another 2022. So just have to wait and see. Other than that, anything else you're hearing on the Penn State side, recruiting wise? I think we kind of covered most.
Yeah, got a lot of it covered. I mean, obviously it's a good, this wasn't even really a junior day that they were marketing, right? It was more of the 15th and the 29th were going to be their big days this month. But obviously Coach Franklin and the staff, they're not going to turn down kids when they want to come to campus. And if they want to come to campus on the weekend, you got to open the doors. And it's turned into a pretty good list. Like I said, I think that there's a couple kids that are coming up. The offensive lineman, the 23 offensive lineman from Virginia, Cole Serber. He doesn't have a Penn State offer, so he's going to be one to watch to see if they extend an offer to him. And then the Brandon Marshall kid, the cornerback from Florida, he's coming all the way up to Happy Valley this weekend on his own dime, which is pretty cool. He does not have a Penn State offer, but he has quite a few offers. So what are they going to do there? What do they like, when they see him in person? So there's some things to watch coming into this weekend. I mean, it was not necessarily projected to be a big weekend like this, but it's turned out to be that way. And so there's definitely some things to follow coming out of it.
Yeah, and one more thing I want to touch on before we end this to wrap it up. We were talking the other day in terms of 2023 commits. It seems like there's going to be a little bit of a position switch for some guys. I know we currently have Neo Avery at DN and we have Matthias Barnwell at tight end, but you're hearing something different. Yeah.
So it's obviously Mega obviously has had some discussions with the staff, talking to them about potentially position switch. He plays tight end obviously right now for River Bend. He's a big old joker out there. They split him out wide and they throw it up. He's like a cheat code for him right now, right? But he's been talking to the staff about potentially playing defense at the next level. So what's going to happen there, right? So I think at Rivals, what we're going to do at the next month is we're going to switch him over and just to an athlete title or an athlete position, not designate really defense or offense, because in my personal opinion, now Mega might not want to hear this, right? But in my personal opinion, he maybe needs to look at can he learn to kick step, right? Can he learn to be an offensive tackle, right? So, but he got in his mind right now that he maybe wants to try defense. So we're going to see what happens there. And then Neo, we have him on Rivals pegged as a defensive end, but he's been talking to the staff about probably wanting to be considered a tight end out the gate. And what happens there too, back to my opinion, which it don't matter a whole lot to these kids. He's got some high upside on the defensive side of the ball. I think maybe that's something that could work itself out and he could figure that out down the road. And what I would tell both those guys is, who gets paid a lot of money? Dudes that get after the quarterback and dudes that protect the quarterback. Tight ends don't necessarily make a whole lot of money. I mean, they can, but it's rare. So I would look at those other two positions and be like, if you got the size and you got the athleticism, why not try and do that? So
yeah,
who knows?
Most definitely. And it probably played a big reason in them losing out on Rapouille going to Michigan too.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously they were trying to have those conversations internally. The staff was, where's this going to go in terms of, it's hard at any time you're going to have, because how are you going to have that many tight end bodies committed, right? And that are designated tight ends, even though maybe that's not where they're all going to end up. I think I like their philosophy right now of taking these jumbo athletes and kind of letting it figure it out. But the problem is these kids look at these commitment lists and see who's all committed to you, and they see these positions next to these guys, and they're like, well, heck, I don't really want to go where there's already 2 committed, maybe 3 committed, right? And so, that probably was a big deal, a big reason of why he went to Michigan ultimately. I know Penn State staff, tried to get him to kind of hold off as they trying to work some things and do some different things behind the scenes. But ultimately, I think Michigan was another really good opportunity for him, and that's where he decided to go.
Yeah, gotcha. So you heard it first. Stay tuned for ranking switches or not ranking switches, position switches, and a couple ranking updates, especially in the 2022 class, because that's not done yet. And it sounds like after Nick Singleton's performance,
get my dude rate. I know, move him up.
Hey, if I was in charge, they would have been up already. But it does sound like Drew Allard is probably going to get a little bit of a bump. It sounds like Nick Singleton is pushing for that number 1 running back spot.
Man, I don't know how he's not, honestly. I know there's a debate, and that's the fun part always about rankings, right? Is to have that kind of debate, and people are going to always see some things differently. But I mean, Singleton has been cleaning up on the postseason awards, and he's, you see it on the film. I mean, I would sit down and argue with anybody that he deserves to be the number one back in the country, and I would say the same thing about Alar. I think that his arm is just so live. He's got the size. I think the comp to Josh Allen's pretty realistic when you actually look at him. And if that's what you're telling me, how we're supposed to rank these kids and different things like that, and that he could ultimately turn into something like Josh Allen, I mean, then he's got to be one of your top quarterback prospects in this class, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Danny Dennis Sutton had arguably the best.
Oh, he's a beast now.
Best All-Star game out of all three of them, and he's already 25 in the country's 5-star. It's like, holy shit, he's going to go up a little more, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, he's a beast. I mean, I'm telling you, once he gets to on campus and he learns to fire out low out of his stance,
yeah,
he's gonna be a problem. He's gonna be a really, really good player for Penn State.
I think without a doubt, we'll probably see him year one.
No, I would say so for sure. Even with not enrolling until June, I would say he's got the physical freak attributes that you would say, yeah, I think he can do it.
Yeah, he's going to be a freak on that edge, and I can't wait to see it. And it could help open up that pipeline down there in Maryland. So we'll see what happens.
There you go.
But yeah, anything else? I think that's it. I think we kind of covered just about everything.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right.
That's good, man.
You guys. Stay tuned. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this. Like and subscribe to our podcast. Check out the website. There's a transfer portal thread going on right now where we kind of track where Penn State is, and they're looking at a ton of receivers still, which is kind of interesting. Senior Bowl this weekend. Penn State has 5 guys. Is it this weekend or next weekend? I don't even remember.
I'm not sure.
3 weekends? I don't remember, dude.
I'm sure. I need to check it out. No, I don't know. I don't actually know that if it's this weekend though.
I forget when it is, but I know Penn State's got 5 guys in there, so it's a big deal. They got Jesse Luketa, I think Brisker. Who else?
Is Dotson going?
I'm sorry, February 5th. I completely messed that up completely. But Jahan Dotson, Jesse Luketa, Arnold Ebiketie, Castro Fields, and Brisker. It sounds like 2 of them are already in top 25 mock draft. Or top 25 picks in most mock drafts, which is kind of crazy. Ebiketie, we'll have an article on him soon. He's making some strides in the mock drafts. Stay tuned for all that stuff. And yeah, that's all I got.
Perfect.